Hello, boys. Sorry I couldn't be there. As you know, we're going to be starting with the new package, so I need everyone to take their packages out and be ready to go. We're going to start with some definitions. Our first definition is going to be of variable. So, when we're talking about variables in algebra, the variable is represented by a letter. So, we need to write that down. Represented by a letter. And the variable can be different things at different times. So it's the part that changes. Sometimes the letter X might be 2, sometimes it might be 5, but the variable is the part that can change. So this is the part that can change. And don't worry if it's taking you a while to write this down. You guys can pause after you get all the definitions up on the screen. The second part is going to be the constant. So if the variable is the part that can change, the constant is the part that stays the same. So this is the part that stays the same. And the constant is the number all by itself, including its sign. So the constant is the number all by itself, including its sign. So if it's -7 with the negative out front, you got to make sure that negative stays there. It's the part that stays the same. Now the coefficient is the number that multiplies the variable, which means this is the number squished against the letters. Okay, so if you had 2x, the coefficient would be that number 2. It's the number squished up against the letter because remember, squished together means multiply. Now, term is when you have the letter and the number together, so the variable and the coefficient together. Term is the variable and its coefficient together. So x on its own, that would just be a variable. 2 on its own, that could just be a coefficient, but 2x is going to be the term. Expression is then a collection of terms, all added together or subtracted. However, they're a collection of terms all together. Now, just a couple of other definitions that we need to know. Evaluate means to get a final answer. So you might have to multiply, add, subtract, but you're going to get a final answer. And substitute is almost like doing a secret code. Substitute is to replace the variable, and remember the variable is the letter. So replace the variable or the letter with a given number. So we have all the definitions. You can pause now if people need a bit more time. But then we're going to go on and talk about all these different parts of an expression. So we're going to start off with the variables. So the variables are the letters. So that means that x and y, these are the variables. X and y are the variables. X and y. The constant is the number by itself. So in this case, the constant would be plus, oops, not sure where those equal signs came from. The constant would be plus 4. The coefficients, oops, that should be green. The coefficients are the numbers squished up against the variables. So the coefficients are the numbers squished up against the variables. Term, I'm running out of colors. Term is going to be the combination of the coefficient and the variable together. So how can I show that? So with the yellow, these are the terms, the combination of the coefficient and then the whole everything all together. Let's do this in turquoise. Everything all together, that's going to be your expression. So you can see the expression doesn't have an equal sign in it. No equal sign. It's just a collection of coefficients, variables, and constants. But just because there's no equal sign doesn't mean we can't evaluate them. So we're going to do some evaluating of these algebraic expressions. So example 1 says if x equals 3, let's find the value of these expressions. And we have to remember BEDMAS. Now if I'm going too fast, you can always watch the video again later to fill in the parts that you've missed. So example 1. Whenever I see an x in any of these questions, I'm going to replace it with a 3. So the very first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to rewrite it. And remember, 6 squished up against x means it's going to be 6 times x. And you'll notice that I'm drawing my x's, my algebra x's, I'm drawing them all fancy. So you can either draw them like a forward C and a backward C. Some people do them by doing a sort of swoosh with a line through it. However you do it, your x needs to look different from your multiply. Some people then do multiply with a dot, however you want to do it. So here it would be 6 times x, which gives me 6 times 3, because remember, x equals 3. When I put those together, I get 18. So that's a pretty straightforward one. Let's do it with one more step here. 2x plus 5. So that's going to be 2 times x plus 5. And BEDMAS says I have to do the multiplying first. So that'll be 2 times 3 plus 5, which is 6 plus 5, which gives me 11. And I had to do that multiplying first. So all I did, wherever there was the x, I put in the 3. For part C, I'm going to write it again. So it's going to be 5 times x squared. So 5 times, substitute in, x equals 3. So 5 times 3 squared. 5 times 9, because I had to do my exponents first because of BEDMAS. So 5 times 9 is 45. Okay, for part D, I'm going to rewrite it again. So x times bracket 4 times x minus 7. So substituting in, I'll have x is 3. So 3 times 4 times 3 inside the brackets minus 7. So to be 3 times 12 minus 7. Have to do the brackets first. So that gives me 3 times 5 which is 15. So the big thing to remember for substitution is it's just like a code. Wherever you see that letter, you're going to replace it with the number that they tell you it does. And then just make sure to follow BEDMAS. Hope things are going okay. Help each other out. Example 2. In example 2, we have two different variables and we have two different values that we set them to. So A is 2, B is 5. Part A says I've got AB, and AB are squished together, and squished together means multiply. And A is 2, B is 5, and when I work that out, 2 times 5 is 10. So that's it. We just have to be careful about squish together is multiply and making sure you put the right thing in the right place. So for 3A plus 7B, so that's 3 times A plus 7 times B. We know that A is 2 and we know that B is 5. So A is 2 and B is 5. So 3 times 2 is 6, 7 times 5 is 35, and now I can straight up add. Oh, right. Sorry, I had to do my multiplying first because of BEDMAS. Don't forget, multiply first. Have to multiply first. Add them together, we get 41. Part C. Part C, I've got 10A over B. So that's really 10 times A over B, which is 10 times 2 over 5. A is 2, B is 5. So that gives 20 divided by 5, which is 4. Now this last one here, I've got bracket B plus A, so that's going to be 5 minus 2, close bracket. Squish together means multiply, and then 5, oh sorry, that first one is plus, and then 5 minus 2. And I have to do my brackets first, so I'm doing this bracket, then I'm going to do that bracket. And when I figure that out, I get 7 in the first bracket times 3 in the second bracket. And when I multiply those, I get 21. So I need you guys to go ahead and practice now. Yes, there are lines, places for you to put it in. I want you to show the substitution first. So for example, practice 1 said, if f equals 15 and g equals 4, find the value of f minus g. I want your first line to be the substitution where you show your work. So step 1 is substitute to show. You're going to show me that you understand. Show you understand. That's the first step. And the second step is going to be to evaluate, to get an answer. And 15 minus 4 is 11. So your job, your work now, is to finish practice 1, practice 2, practice 3, practice 4, and practice 6. So your work, after you're finished the whole thing, is to do practice 1 to 6, and you must show your work. That's the first thing. And the second thing is remember BEDMAS. Okay, so good luck.